Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for showing up to I'm getting all confused. The 1% tribe on the Prize Inside. Tonight we're going to discuss some wrist pain. So we're not going to talk necessarily about carpal tunnel type stuff, but just different aspects. I was going through my Rumble channel and I really so what we do on Sunday night is always look at 1 week it'll be like an herbal remedy or, something big systemic, kind of condition, some kind of herbal thing that we can understand and know, or, we do a physical, which is tonight, which is like wrists, different things. If you want any of these, remember that we have this Rumble channel. I have a Rumble channel. I'm up to like 50 people, which I'm super pumped about. But it's super fun. It's I'm excited. All the different videos are on the Rumble channel as well, and there's a podcast. So there's a podcast version of all this. And I try to, if you notice on the video version, I try to go through it kind of like I'm doing an actual podcast with no video. So that's kind of a touch and play. So I apologize, my podcast people, for you don't get to visually see, some of the slides I do. But tonight's going to be about wrist pain. I see it a lot. I have a patient this week that we've been working on, and he had been through multiple different things. And what was neat is the ability to discern, because a lot of times he kept going into the medical route. And they kept instantly, because it was wrist pain, they kept saying it was carpal tunnel. Well, that can't be, a lot of times it can be so different than that. And there's a whole different treatment for that. So with that said, let's get into it. But before that, remember on Wednesday night, about between 6:30 and 8:30, I can never tell you what exactly. Typically, my favorite will be at 6:30 on Wednesday night. But we do what they call Whole Health Weekly. Whole Health Weekly is where you get the latest and greatest in health news. And we kind of break it down holistically so you can understand, what we're looking at, because there's so much information out there. The next biggest detox could be something you don't want to do, or it might be a game changer. Who knows? But with the amount of knowledge out there, I always hope that Whole Health Weekly will end up helping you discern, is it something you should do? Now, with that said, there's a lot of different, subject matter. As a holistic person, you're going to actually look at your health in a whole different light. And so, oh, thank you. Yeah, Julie, I knew you'd like this topic quite a bit. So I'm hoping I'll get some info. So Julie, as you do, comment, share, do all those kind of things. But for you, I want you to comment, if you see something or want to add something to it, because Julie's been through a little wrist issue herself. It was a pretty big wrist issue actually, but she is recovering so good on so many levels. But anyway, so with that said, on Whole Health Weekly, Wednesday night is just about that. I try to find different topics. And if you ever are listening to this, comment on it on the Rumble channel or the YouTube, wherever. I'll find it, and then we'll add that as a subject matter for Whole Health Weekly. So with that said, a couple articles I came across that we're going to go over in a little more detail on Whole Health Weekly. But did you know if you know somebody suffering with erectile dysfunction, which is a very, very big thing in society in general, maybe they should check their vitamin D levels. So I don't know if you've ever heard of that one before, but that could be an easy fix, an easy situation where we actually, help out a little bit that way. So that was one article I went around, which is kind of new and interesting. The other one was mosquito bites. So, oh man, got to tell you a story today. So, if most of you or some of you lived in Michigan, it was beautiful today. Lots of easy yard work outside. And Rachel, my wife, and the other chiropractor, right? She's been redoing part of our yard, so it's like even more beautiful because now that we've understood these native plants, we're like looking for locations that we can put them. And she got a bee like in that went up her. She's got like overalls, and it went up into her pant leg and just whacked her good. And she goes, I have not got hit with like a bee like that in a really long time. And so she was like calling me, what should we put on the bee sting? I was like, well, there's a lot of good stuff, like you could do mullein, right? If you found mullein, you could actually, if you want to get crazy, if you're worried about like infection, mullein is a good biotic-ish kind of thing in the herbs. So some people will actually take mullein and put it as a poultice. They'll get it wet with their spit. And then like if you're out with a kid, just knowing and recognizing what mullein is could help you out quite a bit. She didn't have to do probably any of that, just ice at this point, but and a little anti-inflammatory of some sort would be good. Oh man, Jerry is here. I'm so glad you made it. Oh yeah, Jerry and Marcia. This is going to be awesome. So hopefully we'll get this kind of rolling. And then the last one, so mosquitoes. There's an article on like getting bit by mosquitoes. Why are some people, gone to it? And they did a study on it. So type O blood was the major thing. Those are the people that get bit the most. So remember that A, B, and they have a little less getting bit. Everybody gets bit, but this is like the people that get hammered. Wearing black or red increases your chances of having mosquitoes get you. So that was interesting. Drinking alcohol in the heat, that for some reason attracts these mosquitoes. But one of the things that was interesting was in the herbal world, which I hadn't heard before, but wild mint is one that you could use, and Russian sage. So wild mint and Russian sage are two. And of course, in Michigan, we have a ton of mint. And most of you understand like that mint could be a thing. And maybe you could make some kind of ointment or something that you spray on that's a little less caustic than, your mosquito sprays that have all kinds of stuff in them, like the DEET and, those kind of things. So maybe I haven't tried it yet. So I want to try that. The wild mint sounds very fascinating to me. So from there, let's get into this wrist thing, shall we? All right, here we go. So today is going to be a little presentation-y slideshows, but then we're going to go into some YouTube videos that will kind of give you an explanation of some stuff. So we're going to do tonight is wrist relief unlocked, holistic strategies for pain-free living. So we're going to get rid of the wrist pain. What we're going to go over tonight is different pain. We're going to go into different areas of pain of the wrist, not just carpal tunnel. And these are something that we want to be aware of. And we're going to go into how we can avoid this and some things we can do for solutions. And then what can we do to improve this each and every day? Because one of the biggest things is you're going to understand. And I was going to play this video of a guy that I really, really like, but for fear of censorship and all those kind of things, I was listening to this exercise scientist. And one of the things that's coming out currently, your grip strength means it actually is a sign of aging. And so what they mean by that is grip strength tells you a lot. So if we can get our grip strength better as we age, we can actually reverse some of that aging process. It sounds absolutely crazy, but it might be one of the best things we ever do. And the reason is, if you think about it holistically or with innate intelligence, if my feet and my hands, they have one thing in common. They're the furthest thing away from your brain and spinal cord. Okay. So because they're the furthest thing, your body has to do the most work to make sure that everything's functioning in your feet and your wrists or your hands. With that said, if we take care of our wrists and our hands, we're actually taking care of the body as a whole. There's so many nerve receptors in your hands, right? And your feet that we have to gain those back. Strong feet, strong hands leads to less pressure on your knees, less pressure on your hips. Strong hands, less pressure on your shoulders, less pressure on your elbows. With that ability to have those strong hands and really take care of them in the next few years, like as we age, and make sure we have a process for that, you can make a huge difference in like how your health and longevity. So just remember that as we go. These are little simple things. It sounds crazy until your wrist isn't working, right, Julie? Until you figure out that, then you have a whole nother process that goes through. So this one is one that a lot of people take advantage of. My wrist hurts a little bit. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you can see it. You kind of can. So on mine, the opposite finger of my ring finger, I play adult basketball, and I jammed the crap out of my right ring finger. And it was just simple. It figures it was Dr. Thane, who's our Myers Chiropractic West chiropractor, right? It wasn't him. He didn't do it on purpose. We were both going for the same ball, and I went down on the ground. And when I went for the ball, I jammed that sucker right into the floor. And man, has it taken a long time, but oh man, that was months and months ago. Now, did I freak out and panic? No. Did I worry about it not healing fast enough? No, because nature wins. Nature takes its sweet time, right? You don't let that stuff stress you. You keep doing what nature wants that to do and allow the innate intelligence of our body to heal it. One of our problems in our society is like, we need it now. We need it now. And that's been our problem. If you allow these things to heal give it enough time and enough space and enough effort, you can really do that. So now I have full function. That wrist joint, though, or that knuckle joint got a little swollen on me. But with that said, remember how important the wrist is as we go. And not everything is carpal tunnel. So here we go. All right, let's go into the first one. So here are some conditions to think about. We're going to go over these of just things that can happen. And I'll tell you actually the more common ones as we go. So carpal tunnel syndrome. This is the one everybody talks about. Nerve compression causing numbness, tingling, and weakness in the hand, often due to repetitive motions. Wrist tendinitis. Inflammation of tendons from overuse, leading to pain and swelling, especially with movement. This one called de Quervain's tenosynovitis. It's a painful inflammation of the tendons of the thumb, on the thumb side of the wrist, often with repetitive thumb motions. A wrist sprain, a stretched or torn ligament, typically from sudden twists or falls, causing pain and instability. Ganglion cyst is another one that some people know about. It's a non-cancerous, it's a fluid-filled lump. I call it a cyst. It kind of acts like that on the wrist. It's often painless, but can cause discomfort or limit motion. With a ganglion cyst, a lot of times it's almost harmless, except for it can get in the way of the actual motion of your wrist. And then it's not harmless because it's throwing you off mechanically. Wrist fracture. So there's a lot of people that have some of these kind of wrist fractures, broken bones in the wrist, usually from falls or trauma leading to pain and swelling. Okay. And then arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, joint inflammation causing stiffness, pain, reduced mobility, and even worse, it worsens with age or autoimmune condition. So we'll go through a couple of these. I'm going to walk. Let's start with, really, to be honest with you, the most common of all of these is wrist tendonitis from like an injury to the wrist that leads to wrist arthritis. Okay. That leads to wrist osteoarthritis. Because a lot of times when a wrist joint in your body isn't healed properly, where we take the time, we do actually the rehab through quite a bit of time, that's where some of these arthritic conditions come from. Have you ever noticed your buddy that's the same age, right? Let's say he's overweight, but he didn't have hip knee replacement. Let's say you're in your 70s. Why didn't that guy have a knee replacement? You did, right? Well, it can't be just because of age, right? Or weight, because let's say your buddy's like heavier than you are. So what is it? Right? It's balance. It's all of those things. If the joint stays balanced, osteoarthritis has a hard time coming in. That's what chiropractic understands. When you have a perfectly functioning, all the joints of the spine are working properly, a lot of those osteoporotic, the arthritis, all those kind of things, you don't have those issues. It's no different than the bones of your wrist, the bones of your elbow, the bones of your shoulder. If all of them were working properly, we have a really good shot. And then sometimes those wrist tendinitises have underlying it joints that aren't working properly. And so we can go into that, leading to osteoarthritis. Sometimes a ganglion cyst, in my opinion, it's a sprain that wasn't taken care of, and then that sprain leads to like these little cyst pockets. Think of like a callus on your hand, and your wrist has to do things. So altered mechanics of the wrist. A lot of people don't know. I give me a thumbs up if you know that chiropractors can adjust wrists. And if you're new to the channel and you've never heard that before, I hope that is a thing for you. Now, do I always think that's where the location is? No. Sometimes it's your neck doing that, right? So it's the nerves of there's so many different pathways that you can watch as this goes. And that's what my job is to kind of discern, okay, where is the causation within this nerve pathway if that would cause wrist pain? But rheumatoid arthritis, I'm going to bring up as well. Rheumatoid is a very interesting because it's an autoimmune. They shouldn't really be in the same category, but sometimes medically it happens where people think osteoarthritis and rheumatoid are related. They're not even close. Osteoarthritis is more of wear and tear, or if you think rust on a hinge, or rust on a joint of some sort. It's building. It's like making more. Rust is like it's creating more metal. And that's what kind of binds it up. Rheumatoid is where the immune cells of your body are actually attacking your joints. And now that you all have been on my 1% tribe for a long time, there's people, and all of us have them, there's people with rheumatoid that you wouldn't know they had rheumatoid, right? And then there's people that have rheumatoid and you could definitely see it. What's the difference? A lot of times it's it's how they can get these immune cells under control. Sometimes a medicine can do that, right? So sometimes a medicine can do that. But one of the things that we've learned, hopefully over time in holistic, this is where if your immune system is functioning perfectly through herbal, through great nutrition, through not overloading the system, right, with toxins, if your thoughts are good, right, if your spine is working properly, all of these things could lead to a better functioning immune system, right? And so if that functioning immune system is better, if somebody has what they call the rheumatoid factor, do they show up as much? And maybe you get out of it without the rheumatoid situation attacking your joints, because it's the immune system that's actually literally attacking your joints. That's why they call it an autoimmune disease. And rheumatoid, I've seen some pretty severe ones that are rough, like are real rough. And so that one, if the first time, that's why I always recommend, making sure you get your blood work early in your life. We have at the office, we have some nutritional blood work that we love. It gives you some good ideas of like what could be happening, right? So all of these things are super important, as we go, because the more knowledge you have, the better holistically you can live as well. So with that said, those are all the different wrist ones. So you can see there's quite a few wrist ones. And really the majority is actually like sprained wrist that leads to altered mechanics that leads to wrist osteoarthritis, or that rust in the hinge. I see that way more often than I do carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel is more severe and people instantly go get, carpal tunnel surgery. But osteoarthritis, I see that more because of how much we overuse our hands, which doesn't mean we're overusing them. Maybe we're not using them correctly. All right. So I gave you all those. Okay. So look how many bones. Hopefully you guys can see this. There are, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bones, 9, 10 bones, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There are 15 bones that directly have 15 different joints. Well, I hate to say that because each of these 8 bones in here has multiple joints to it. So all of these joints in this little tiny wrist area have to work properly. And if anyone's ever had their wrist adjusted, it's kind of crazy how people feel. They're like, what is that? It feels amazing when when a chiropractor actually figures out the wrist is the problem with the carpal tunnel situation, right? Or any kind of wrist injury. But there's 15 bones in there, which they all kind of bind up in a little package. And that little package, to make it move and be really strong, it needs all those joints to function properly. So that is something I want to really emphasize. So if you have 8 bones inside your wrist that are little, almost like Lego blocks, and the other 1, 2, you have another 5 bones, these metatarsals that are like, or metacarpals, excuse me. So the metacarpals are attached to those little 8 wrist bones. Why did God, innate intelligence, make it like that? Why? What do you think? Put it in the comments if you think. I'll give you the answer anyway. There's 2 reasons, I think. One is intricacy and very specific. We want the hand, especially in us, is one of the most delicate, because of our opposable thumb, one of the most delicate, finest movement joints in the world, in the human body, or probably on the planet, right? Because of this opposable thumb, allows us to do these things, artwork, very fine surgical things, like all of these cool situations like that. And one of the reasons God did that was he has these 8 little tiny bones that are sitting in here. And if we can take care of them, just like everything else, we're going to be pretty good. Right. And so just remember that, because a lot of these are going to be big players coming up. So remember that. I keep forgetting, what was the, you guys want to know how, in chiropractic school, we learned all these. So this one bone is called the scaphoid. So I'll read all the 8. Ready? Scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, capitate, trapezium, pisiform, hamate, and trapezoid. And how we would remember them in chiropractic school was we'd always go with one word, one or the first letter, and then it would help us remember. So our one for this was some lovers try positions they can't handle. I used to love that one. Some lovers try positions they can't handle. All right. I know that's an aside, but it was funny for one of us. For one of us. All right. So this is what we're talking about. The 8 joint at the 8 tiny bones of your wrist. Okay. They make this nice carpal tunnel. They make a lot of different things. So here's the carpal tunnel picture so we can understand this. So carpal tunnel is much different than a lot of different wrist pains because it's about this tendon that runs over. So when you look at your hand, you have these 8 little bones in there. This 8 little bones has actually created a bridge of, I call it like a brick bridge. Like if you're going to build a bridge and you have these different things, you have like 8 little bones that create an arch. That arch, because how nature intended it, when you're in an arch form, you're one of the strongest. That's why your grip strength is so powerful if that arch is present. If I take away that arch, I can weaken you tomorrow, right? Because of that, having a flat hand, it'll weaken pretty good. The thing that happens in carpal tunnel is that the arch, there's an arch at the very end, there's a tendon that kind of attaches both sides of that arch. And over time, through wear and tear, like physical labor, using your hands a lot, computer typing can actually do it. A lot of different things. Weightlifting, I've seen it like that. Biking has an issue with it as well, but it'll beat up and wear and tear on that tendon. It will cause scar tissue to build up in this tunnel that allows all the nerves and blood vessels to kind of flow through there. Now, are there huge alternatives other than surgery? Yes. Depending on how far it's gone, right? So sometimes chiropractic doesn't win. Like we have to see, like if somebody's so bad, nothing's working. But for the most part, soft tissue work, chiropractic adjustments to the wrist and the neck and everything else. We've seen some major good issues prior to carpal tunnel surgery. My one that is like everything, when nature needs no help, just no interference. And remember, one of the principles of chiropractic is nature needs time. And so if you don't give it that time, then a lot of times you're going to end up in the surgical realm where they basically take out the scar tissue of that area and remove it. The problem is a lot of times it's not very effective surgery at all because most people go back to the same work they were doing that caused the carpal tunnel in the first place. And they really never reset the muscular structure of the hand, the wrist, didn't change anything about the wrist. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay. I'll try to not talk so much because so de Quervain's tenos, they call it de Quervain syndrome or de Quervain's tenosynovitis. So think of just on the thumb side that you have these tendons, you have a little tendon sheath that keeps your, the tendons going to your thumb, going through there. It's like similar tendon to your carpal tunnel. You have a tendon that kind of holds all your thumb tendons in on the outside of your thumb. When that gets inflamed, then the sheath that's kind of holding that in there gets inflamed as well. This one can be pretty severe because if you lose your thumb function, you lose your wrist function, right? And a lot of times this is from the same kind of situation where you have mechanical alterations in that wrist that allow that to happen. A ganglion cyst, here's the picture of this. It can be anywhere in the wrist. I think of your, all those eight bones are surrounded in kind of like almost like a saran wrap to make sure that they're all tight and stay together. Think of a vacuum sealed bag. Okay. So if you've ever had, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say you have blueberries. Okay. So you had frozen blueberries and you put it in a vacuum sealed bag. You see how tight they stay together, right? So that's kind of what happens with the really the tendinous structure around your wrist. You have this like vacuum sealed bag that's there. Sometimes with injury, though, you can have this little tiny pinhole happen in that bag. Now, you don't lose the whole thing like you would in a vacuum sealed bag, but you're going to start losing some, let's say, blueberry juice outside of that bag. That blueberry juice starts squirting out the outside of that bag. It'll start producing a little cyst. Okay. So that cyst keeps growing and growing and growing. And then, sometimes people will do some crazy stuff. I'll try to, if I have time at the end, I'll show you like what people do to get rid of ganglion cysts on YouTube. It's hilarious, but there's easy ways. Most of the time you don't have to do anything about it. However, docs are amazing at like getting rid of it. If it starts to cause problems in the mechanics of your wrist, it's usually smart or wise to do something about it. If it's not causing that much issue, then is it worth, an incision? I don't know. That's up to the person that we're talking to, right? Okay. Now, the biggest thing and the biggest mistake most people do that have wrist problem is we don't look at the entire structure as a whole. Okay. So the wrist, the nerves of the wrist start in your neck, your lower neck. It's called your sixth cervical vertebrae, your seventh cervical vertebrae, your first thoracic. So the lower portion of your neck. Now, those are the major ones, but then there's some other ones, right? But C6, C7, T1, they control how your hand moves. Okay. So in fact, the first finger, your thumb, and half of your middle finger is your sixth cervical vertebrae. And then half of your finger half of your other middle finger on the opposite side, your ring finger and your pinky are C7. Okay. So why is that important? Because if somebody has a wrist problem, you can't just say it's a wrist problem. We don't know if the muscles of your C7 nerve are the problem, right? And what if the communication pattern to the C7 side of your brain, your nervous system in your hand isn't getting the function? So a lot of times we got to see if C6, C7 in the neck is having issues. Sometimes you can have a shoulder thing that's causing those nerves to get to lose communication. Elbow situation into the wrist. So you have to look at all of it. And that's why this picture is so cool. It's the entire C6, C7, T1 area kind of going down through that path. And if you're not having success at the wrist, why? Keep looking for the why. Okay. So before we get into the cool videos, because now we've walked through all the different conditions that it could be, I want to give you guys some good like talking points that we can really go after, tonight, and then see how you feel. So I'm going to give you a few different herbal type situations. And then from there, we're going to go into some videos that could show you some good wrist strengthening exercises, regardless of what the condition is. Okay. So let's go through some that work well. The ones that I've seen that work really well are magnesium cream, a lot of topicals. So we're going to talk about this in the herbal world. We can't be afraid of topicals. Topicals seem like they're not that big a deal, but there's tons of good ones out there, guys. Topicals can be almost as effective, if not better, than like an actual supplement, because it's directly on there. And remember, your skin is your biggest organ of your entire body. A lot of things that will be absorbed through that skin. And so a lot of times, don't discount your topicals. Don't give up on those topicals, especially if they work really, really well for you. Okay. All right. So that's the big thing. Topicals are just as herbal as a tincture, as a tea, as a supplement. Okay. A lot of times they get unnoticed because, you got to keep putting it on and, doing a lot of, those kind of things. And it feels like, oh, maybe, and we're so ingrained with taking something that makes us feel better that it can be a stopping point. Okay. So magnesium cream is one that I've seen. We have some in the office. That's amazing. The people that use it, and if it works well for what you're doing, it's fantastic. So magnesium cream is actually a pain reliever as well, but it gets into the muscle, helping that the muscles like actually heal up a little bit. So I don't think as a society we use this enough. We use it for pain situations versus my opinion is, let's say we're working, I'll use Julie for example. Julie's working hard in a garden, and at the end of the day, she's pooped, like she had just did, just weeded, an acre of stuff, right? And so she is whooped. That's a good time to start taking care of your joints. Even if you don't hurt at that moment, that's what I do a lot of times. Is I've learned over time, when I have a very physical day, like I'll exercise and then work out in the yard, that's the days I use a lot of my joint herbs. Okay. So I use them because I want to get that inflammation out of there, make sure they're staying good and healthy. And magnesium cream on joints that you used could be really, really good, because as soon as you go inside, you sit down. One way to check it is you go to, you did all the yard work, right? And you go to sit down, and then you get back up and you're sore. And where are you sore? Maybe your knees, your feet. Okay. So let's say you're one of those, or your shoulder or whatever. That's where you'd put the magnesium cream. We don't wait till it's hurting every single time and becomes chronic. Do it now. That magnesium will soak in. It'll get just as much as you want because it's innate intelligence, and bam, you'll be good. Arnica. Arnica is a fantastic cream ointment herb that has a lot of benefits. So like I have Arnica at the office. You can get it on Full Script that I've shown you before. Oh, let me put that up there. If you guys ever want, I don't know if you know how to do, this is that's not what I want to get off there. In the top corner is my little Full Script QR code. That is the Full Script is like Amazon for supplements. And what's cool is if you use that one, there's a lot it actually allows you to communicate with me, which I love. But if you ever need supplements, you just go to that site and it works just like Amazon, right to your door as soon as you want it. So anyway, and it has anything you want in there. There's 30,000 supplements, but they're all vetted to make sure that they follow the right processes. Okay. So anyway, Arnica. Arnica is a big cream to remember, especially for joints, especially for the wrist. BioFreeze. BioFreeze has been known for a long, long time. It's got some good medicinal value to it. And some people love it. So I say because of its joint inflammation, it does a pretty good job. Menthol helps. It reduces some inflammation and gets some pain out of there. My new go-tos, though, are Arnica and magnesium cream. However, BioFreeze I've seen work really, really good. There's some other great ones out there that I didn't list. You're talking Blue Emu. Not a lot of them I'm against at all. So just understand that, like, especially when it comes to topicals, because you can't really hurt yourself too bad. And it's something that it goes for out of granted. So anti-inflammatory herbs, one huge one for joints. I would recommend this highly if you're joint. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. If you're having wrist problems and arthritis of the wrist, then it's time. It's time to start taking care of your joints in a different way. So you want to make sure you're starting to take some good joint supplementation, glucosamine, chondroitin, bone broth, those kind of things, just to say, all right, I don't want this to progress. Remember also vitamin D, K2, and magnesium. You have to have them all to get the right calcium intake. Okay. So these are all things that happen when you start having arthritis in different joints, which is a very common, actually, like shockingly more common than carpal tunnel. But a lot of people just kind of are able to avoid it more until it becomes a major problem. So I want you to remember that when I'm looking at these. This is a very proven anti-inflammatory for joints for osteoarthritic situations. Uh-oh. Well, that's no good. Am I locked? What's happening? Okay. Added to the stage. All right, fine. It's sorry, it's not adding it to my I had it up there for a minute. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. I don't know what happened. Hopefully everybody's back. That was first for me. I usually get knocked out. Okay. What I'm going to do this really quick. Get my presentation back loaded up. You guys have been awesome. Figures the one time I got like 7 or 8 people out here wanting to watch. It's like, it's great. I have like my numbers keep going up, guys. So I'm really happy about that. But remember, don't forget the Rumble. Don't forget the podcast. It's worth it. Okay, so let's go back over to that. All right. Okay, so the anti-inflammatory herbs I was talking about are boswellia, ginger, and anything that's curcumin. So ginger's curcumin. So curcumin-rich herbs are like your turmeric, ginger, bromelain, those kind of things. But boswellia is another one. They did this boswellia and ginger in a combination and really helped osteoarthritis. In fact, it's one of those I really want to make sure I start carrying at the office. There's so many. I need to just make sure it's in there for everybody, like that kind of thing, especially for osteoarthritis. And if a lot of these osteoarthritic things in your being a wrist problem, that would be a good one. And then of course, pain herbs are like white willow bark is a great one to think about, like if you have some wrist pain there. The other one I want to say before we go on, our cold laser. So the cold laser situation, emu relief does really good. Blue emu is like really good. And Julie is going to prove it. Her injury is pretty good. So we're going to find out a lot of stuff. But remember that, Julie, on the boswellia ginger, there are different supplements with all that in there as well. But remember the cold laser in this situation. Anytime there's a healing, so what the cold laser likes to do, it's a holistic, natural. I call it a holistic cortisone shot. It's not really a shot, but it throws this internal healing frequency into the cells around the wrist, and because it's so right there, right? Like, you got in your hip, you got a lot of butt muscle, you got all those things, but your wrist is right there. And so a lot of times the joint healing in a wrist with the cold laser has been like a game changer. I love it. So that is all the things I would do on top of what we're going to do in the strengthening game. So we're going to do, all right, so let's get into that. I'm going to stop sharing. And then we're going to go into, sorry about that weird thing. Okay. So we're going to go into some of the wrist moves I want you to do first. Okay. So let's go to the easy. Where is my, sorry guys. This is the first one I want to talk about because we're going to do this in various forms.
8,000. That's how many minutes on free.
Got to make sure the volume's not on. Okay. All right. So this is a very quick video. This is not the one I wanted to show you, but these are planks with fingertips. Okay. So we want to get up on fingertip planks. Now, so I know this wasn't what I wasn't going to show you yet, but it's too late. So planks on the fingertips is ridiculous. However, there are ways. Okay. This is the one I want. The dead hang. So let's go to here first, and we'll talk about both. Okay. So he's basically going to grab a pull-up bar, and he's just going to just let his body hang there. Trying to breathe at the same time. Okay. So what I want to talk about, this is going to be something that a lot of us can't do. Okay. Either of these. So there's different variations that I want you to think about. The dead man's hang first. So the dead man's hang, the biggest thing is just being able to grab a pull-up bar above your head and sort of fall down, right? Just let your weight, but maybe not leave the ground, right? Because you can kind of control how much pressure. Because I want you to get to the point where that grip strength, and what there's a few things that happen with this dead hang that I really like. One is it kind of tractions you. Two, it tells your body, hey, I want to still have the motion above my head, right? With both arms as fast as long as I'm around. One of the biggest things I see in aging is that we can't go above our head when we start to age. The muscles of the shoulder stop doing it. Frozen shoulder, all those kind of things. If you have shoulder problems, you're going to end up with a wrist problem if you don't do something, to get the range of motion back in your shoulder. Okay. So a dead man's hang can help with that. Now, doing really baby step this is a really good idea. You just grab the bar and just kind of hang. He does it, but you don't necessarily have to leave the ground or anything. You just, even if you didn't put any weight on your hands, just to get those up there and feel how it is to breathe and just let your body kind of traction out. That'll also help your wrists as well. You want this little traction piece of your wrist and your shoulder and everything. It just kind of opens your body up. And that's why the dead hang is so important to me. So and it's a big wrist one. And once you get good at it, let's say you start improving, and then this dead hang is something like I have one guy that's doing it every 2 times a week minimum. This guy's trying to do a dead hang. It's better than walking or running a 5K. I can tell you that. Well, I'm sorry, walking a long distance and wearing yourself out. I'd rather see you do this because it's worth it. Okay, so dead hang gets you really close. Now, with the planks on your fingertips, there's lots of different ways to do that. I would say get on your knees first. Just get on your knees, put your fingers on that floor, and then feel what it feels like to get more and more weight onto your wrists. Okay. If you can get that fingertip strength going, the amount of strength that builds instantly is really, really good. So I did want to show you that one. That was a little too extreme. Sorry. Not trying to kill off my 1% tribers, man. All right. I really like this guy. We saw him a long time ago. And he has a ton of good exercises, but I want to get to okay. So this is the one I want you to look at every single day. So this guy, his name's Versus Arthritis, which is great. This is something I even implemented this after I was done. So he's going to give you things you do every single day. Okay. So this one is very simple. You're flexing it and then stretching it. You're just holding it for a small amount of time. You're not overstretching it, flexing and stretching that way. Yep. Just very easy. Flexing and stretching every single morning. Not tough to do. And just make sure it feels good. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to the other favorite that I love because your hands and your fingers are a big part of your wrist, your wrist strength. Okay. So let's go through this. We can do this together because this is the one I added that's big. And because of that injury I had with my finger, this probably helped the most. So what this is he is showing where you do a small wrist, like you're like a ninja karate person. So you do this little knuckle fist. See how I'm doing that? Like you're in karate, right? So you just squeeze all your fingers. The next move is to create a full fist and then do that 5 times. So you do little one, big fist, like you're going to be in a thing, but your thumbs are still gone. And then you do little, big, and then we're going to take our thumbs and oppose them. We're going to go across. Okay. So what you're doing is just getting each one. So little ninja karate, regular fist, like a boxing fist, and then take your thumbs and try to touch your pinky finger with those. Try to get your thumb over there. And you do those 3 to 5 times in the morning. Now, the other one I learned, this one was from a patient. He'll probably never come on because he's such a pain. He probably is sleeping by now. We'll see if he watches. But there's another one I learned that's super simple. You make a fist, you go straight up. You make a fist, you go straight forward. You make a fist, you go straight up. You make a fist, you go straight forward. And then if you look at that, you can go up and then forward and then up and then forward. Okay. So these are all little tiny things that you can really do to make a huge difference. Now, I couldn't find a good video on the other few that I had. So I wanted to show you the wrist strength things that I recommend. Trying to get up by even on your tippy fingers, right? And of course, you have your wrist curls, right? You can do that with a dumbbell, right? There's a lot of wrist rolls we can do. One of my favorites is put a rope on a pole, on a bar, right? And then roll that weight all the way up, keeping your hands above your head, rolling that entire thing. So that's a really good one. So those are all good strengthening ones, but what about everyday stuff, right? And if we can do these little finger, little fist, thumb across to the little finger, and you do that 5 times, you will feel amazing. And then you do the one where you make a fist, point your fingers up, make a fist, go across, make a fist up, make a fist, go across. Now I have one more to add before we get too crazy. If because of how I'm set up in my studio here, I can't show you, but if you can visualize my hands out to my side as far as I can. So I'm making a cross basically. So I'm going to put my arms out, and now I'm going to rotate my wrist back and forth, thumb up all the way as far as it can rotate and back. Now, if you visualize what it looks like on this end, I'm rotating, 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 but my hands are out here. Okay. So you're rotating, 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 rotating. You do that a couple times, I'm guaranteeing you half these shoulder issues will go away as well. So those are really, really good exercises to really get after it. So I'm trying to think of any other one that are really important. So hopefully you guys are understanding. Give me a like if this is making sense. A lot of times with the wrist injuries, though, understand that the constant work it has to be done. There's no like a little bit of this work. We have to start keeping working it. And these are things that you can do on the way to work, right? We don't have to, wait a long time. You can do it at work, during work. This is not going to take a timepiece, especially if we do what that kid was doing, right? We're doing little fist, ninja fist, boxing fist, thumb across. and you do that. And then you do fist up or fist, fingers up, fist straight, fist up, fist straight. You do 5-10 of those per day. It's a game changer. I'm telling you, this is the stuff that I do every day before I even open the doors for, like when we go into chiropractic stuff. It's worth it. I'm telling you, it's worth all those things. When you keep the cellular healing in motion and you tell your body, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to just avoid it. Do you think nature and innate intelligence goes, hey, well, since they're avoiding it, I'll work more? No, that's not how your body works. He's like, oh man, they're using it. So that means they must want to keep it. So they're going to do better cells for you. So hopefully that's enough. I feel bad. I was like, man, we've done a wrist one in the past. However, I wanted to add some new ones to it. So hopefully you guys had a good little session of wrist situation. So now what can we do? And I'll leave you alone for the night. Chiropractic, making sure that you understand that you can get your chiropractic whole system to your wrist evaluated. So your neck, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, all of those things. If we get it mechanically right, a lot of the things can happen. Soft tissue therapies like massage, gua sha. Gua sha is a really important and very popular one. If you can get those massage in the tendons of your wrist, which we offer these smaller, like half hour, 15-minute sessions that allow us to really focus in on something like that. The cold laser is a really good option. Almost everything in our office is built for wrist, feet injuries on top of back injuries because we understand the importance of all this stuff. Try the topical treatments. So if you find one, like Julie says, emu, like an emu cream or a magnesium cream, any of those, arnica, a lot of them work and they work well. You just have to give it patience and time and just keep using it because it's the topicals can be a game changer for you. Eat clean. Obviously, we want to keep as many inflammatory things out of a situation when we have these kind of inflammation issues. A lot of times we get depressed because let's say we hurt our wrist and we eat badly. Well, when we start to eat bad, we add more inflammatory markers so we don't get over that very easy, right? Get rid of all the pro-inflammatory foods like refined flour. We've gone over this before, right? All the crappy seed oils, soy, canola, all that stuff, refined sugar, do as best you can out of that situation and get strong wrists. So your job in the next few months is to when you come and shake Jeremy's hand, if you crush me, I know you've watched this video and you're ready to roll because if we truly anti-aging, oh, and Julie said, yes, thank you. It will help my other hand. Don't overweed. Yes. Julie's learned a little lesson on the old overweeding. But the biggest thing is we got options now. So just remember, overweed and not that other kind of weed. Overweeding like we know, right? Overweeding, then treat, right? Put that topical stuff on there. Don't wait because otherwise the next day will be kind of rough. That's right. Oh, yes. Oh, Marsha was on there too. I had Marsha and Jerry. Oh, that's awesome. All right, you two. Well, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed it. And catch me on Wednesday night too. That's a really fun one. So this one is a blast. I appreciate you all. And I will see you this Wednesday. Have a good one.